Well, last week, the Biden-Harris administration announced new actions that promote responsible American innovation in artificial intelligence, or AI, and protect people's rights and safety. It's no surprise that there's risks and opportunities with AI, so the purpose of any actions regarding its use is both to protect the integrity of technological development and also protect creative freedoms associated with it, while also ensuring that the U.S. maintains its competitive edge in international innovation. There's no doubt this is a difficult balancing act, especially as AI technology finds its way into politics. And here to discuss this particular aspect of AI is James Czerniawski, Senior Tech and Innovation Policy Analyst at Americans for Prosperity. James, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
One aspect that I find particularly interesting is the timing of this announcement. Joe Biden debuted his first re-election ad for 2024 about 2 weeks ago, and in response, the RNC released an ad of their own, which, as you point out, is also the first to be 100% AI generated. The RNC called the spot an AI-generated look into the country's possible future if Joe Biden is re-elected in 2024. And I'll play a clip from that now.
This morning, an emboldened China invades Taiwan.
Financial markets are in free fall as 500 regional banks have shuttered their doors.
Border agents were overrun by a surge of 80,000 illegals yesterday evening.
Officials closed the city of San Francisco this morning, citing the escalating crime and fentanyl crisis.
Who's in charge here? It feels like the train is coming off the tracks.
So again, that was an AI-generated ad, not real news. And the answer to the question was assuming that President Biden was re-elected president in 2024. James, first off, what is your reaction to this ad?
Yeah, I mean, it's a political ad. It's not surprising that the GOP is trying to frame its vision of what a Joe Biden presidency can look like if he's reelected and trying to message that to, potential voters in 2024. So nothing surprising there. But I actually, for me, as a technology guy, I was really excited about just knowing that this was done using complete, generative AI, 100% of it. It really goes to show and underscore just how powerful this kind of technology can be in terms of leveraging it for different kinds of use cases. We've seen it, manifest in other ways like, ChatGPT and the cute stuff there with writing poems and songs and whatever. But to go and see it put in a more substantive format in terms of like this advertising context is actually kind of interesting because, while it's being done in a political way here, it's really exciting thinking about how that can be used in other normal commercial settings as we're looking forward to. So I think there's a lot of promise there, but I think that some of the reaction, because this was a political one, is, unsurprisingly overblown by design.
Right. Yeah. I think to a lot of people, this AI technology is kind of this distant future dream, and this ad kind of made it a bigger reality. Is the timing of this AI safety announcement from the Biden administration just ironic, or do you think that it's a response to the RNC ad?
It's probably a little bit of a mix of both, right? I'm sure that, if you're looking at the Biden camp, they're not overly pleased at seeing a negative ad about them. And, it might be a little bit of political posturing on their side. But make no mistake, it is also just an administration that's not necessarily known for being overly welcome to new kinds of technologies and emerging technologies. This is the same administration that is trying to take a lot of action to go and, punish cryptocurrencies. They just announced, with their proposed budget, that they want to put a 30% tax on people that are using energy for crypto mining. However, you're going to go and enforce, that's a separate conversation. But, you have that. And then on this front with the, artificial intelligence side, they've convened the leaders and demanded the companies to go and come to the table with how they're going to engage in responsible innovation, quote unquote, which what that looks like is a little nebulous at best. I think that, there's this underlying assumption that these companies just want to move fast and break things, that there's no regard for the consumer whatsoever. And I don't think that that's necessarily true. Obviously, you're operating in a bit of the unknown, and there's some role there. But if we're not careful, you might go and see proposals similar to the AI Act that they put out there in Europe, which is very restrictive, very burdensome, and is basically, virtually guaranteeing that not a lot of the major innovations in that technology are going to happen there. And in light of a, conversation that's surrounding competition with China, I think that'd be very detrimental if we tried to emulate European policy on this front.
Right. That's a really good point. A lot of President Biden's ad focused on protecting Americans' freedoms, but one of these freedoms that we can't forget about is in the creative space and in technological innovation. Do you think that AI is the future of political advertising?
I think it can certainly play a role in there. Sometimes, like, I think people think, like, with AI, it's this all or nothing thing where it's going to go and take all the jobs or it's going to be absolutely mundane. And the reality is that AI and the way that it's getting used is more of like a supplemental good. With ChatGPT, it's not going to replace creatives, but it can certainly assist creatives in how they're approaching problems that they're trying to tackle. And the same thing can be said in the political context. I know that, there are certain staff on the Hill for politicians that have used this very technology to help them write their floor remarks. So there's a lot of, I think, good use cases there, but it's not to the extent that people are fearing. That doom and gloom scenario is very far from reality. Even your AI community in and of itself, for those Terminator-like situations, they don't really have a consensus on the timeline for what something like that might look like. So I think that you don't go and operate out of a precautionary principle and try to close the door on AI when it's still so young. But I think that it has a very bright future. And what's really exciting for me, like I said at the outset, is that this is just one use case, and I can't wait to see how the more creative sectors of our economy that are in the commercial space try to leverage this technology for, connecting with consumers in new and unique ways.
Yeah. With any new creation or new technology, and pretty much everywhere that we see artificial intelligence, we see these debates about whether or not it's a good idea. And there is good reason to have some caution, as you said, in approaching this new technology. It seems like people are even more fearful about AI being used online, specifically, because that comes with a sort of anonymity that makes it especially hard to tell what's real and what's not. MSNBC went as far to call it an unsettling first step toward a new world of manipulation. Should this strategy worry those who are specifically concerned about deepfakes and misinformation?
No, I mean, I don't personally think so. And I found that particular line of commentary a little ludicrous because particularly with political ads, I feel like you're projecting the problems that are being identified of misinformation, misleading people, that are typically associated with political ads, and you're attributing it to the technology. And the technology itself is agnostic. It's about how the person is actually using it that ultimately determines what comes out of the output there. So I think that it's completely inappropriate to say, oh, well, AI is going to go and lead us to this, world where we're having a bunch of lies and misinformation and misleading people and whatnot. I think that that's a complete overreaction. And if you're truly that worried about it, then let's have a conversation about what political ads should look like. And it's not like the RNC hid this at all. As you said at the outset, they kind of owned it. They were like, yeah, this is done by AI 100%. They're not hiding the ball there. And, honestly, I think that, they were just playing smart, not, working hard, if you will. Work smart, not hard. And that's kind of what you're seeing play out there. So, again, I think that the fears are overblown. It's kind of projecting issues that have traditionally been associated with political ads onto the technology, and that's just not the right place to be at.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point to make about kind of the nature of political ads. There's always been a level of falsity or exaggeration in politics, like candidates trying to paint their rival as someone they're not, or even twisting their words. So just like the public should do with traditional ads over the years, do your own research about certain claims that are made and fact check things for yourself. And regardless of the technology, AI can't force you to make up your mind. It should just make you maybe be more cautious in believing everything you see, which could be a good thing.
Oh, 100%. I think you're absolutely right. When we're thinking about AI, at the end of the day, kind of like what I said previously, it's a complementary good. I've talked about the notion of AI hallucinations and AI bias, and it just hammers home to this point where at the end of the day, you're your own best resource. You don't want to become reliant on any particular technology, so you have to go and supplement what you're using the technology for, along with your own personal firsthand research into the topics that include, visiting firsthand materials, secondhand resources, etc. Don't just become reliant on the thing. Otherwise, you're going to, basically set yourself up for failure in that regard. So, again, it's just one of those things where I think that it's overblown because people assume that we're just going to become reliant and blindly trusting of all that stuff. And I think that we're in an era right now where that's just not necessarily the case whatsoever.
Right. Yeah. We'll have to see where this AI technology goes, and probably be having you back on here soon to talk about it. But James, thanks for your perspective and your insight on this.
Thanks for having me.